Charter Local Edition, Brad Pomerance on the Central Coast. Today we are joined by Mario Iglesias. He is the new general manager of the Nipomo Community Services District. Nipomo, of course, in South San Luis Obispo County. And your district, by the way, how's your new job, I must ask?
Job is fantastic.
Terrific.
It was everything they promised and more.
I can imagine, but I guess you walked into a situation where your district is facing a stage 3 drought. Is that what we call it?
We'll call it that just because it's simple. And I think that any person who steps into any position in the water industry today is going to find themselves in something.
Yes. And so explain to me what that means for our viewers. What does stage 3 mean?
Well, stage 3 means that the groundwater table fell into a severe condition. That's a severe criterion where it dropped so low that we're afraid of seawater intrusion. So what we'll do, or what we have planned to do, and what we are doing, is we're reducing our pumping. We've got a 30% requirement right now for our customers to reduce their consumption. And so with that and reduced irrigation, we're trying the conservation methods so we can slow down our pumping, and it's worked. It's worked fantastic.
I want to really dig into seawater intrusion because seawater intrusion can be devastating to a groundwater aquifer. Am I right?
That's correct.
Explain what it is to our viewers.
Well, water pushes to the ocean and it has a gradient. It's an uphill, downhill situation. And when you pump too much water out of the ground, the water from the sea can then come in and encroach in and take over that basin. So what we need to do is keep that groundwater table high enough so that the pressure that the fresh water has keeps that seawater out.
So literally ocean water is coming in, or is it the groundwater under the ocean that's coming in?
It's actually it's ocean water coming in. Just imagine that table dropping and then the gradient dropping and then the ocean water coming in. And so that's what's dangerous, is we have to watch out.
Do we have any seawater intrusion right now?
We have measures, and so far the key wells, and we have sentinel wells out there on the coast that are monitoring, and those show no signs currently.
Are there any locations in California that are facing seawater intrusion?
Well,
if you're aware.
I'm not that I'm not aware.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But what we do know is if you're not on the coast and you overpump, what you're going to find is you're going to find subsidence.
In some landscapes, some types of terrains, you will. Otherwise, it has to be certain clays and certain types of terrains, like Santa Clara Valley.
Right, and we've seen subsidence in the Central Valley. I mean, this is a serious situation. Right. This groundwater situation, this is not a laughing matter.
No, and I believe that the states really looked into this. They've come out with their new Sigma program, which requires all basins to be kind of covered under a management plan.
And so, fortunately for you, you're not in the northern part of San Luis Obispo County because the Paso water basin is in decline and they don't have a plan in place, and they were thinking about having a special district and it got voted down. You at least have a plan at some level in place.
Well, it's very difficult to communicate with your community. I mean, to bring them up to speed. It's like drought fatigue is what I call it. When people constantly are saying drought, 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 they stop listening. And so when you come up and say, we have to formulate a plan, people turn off.
And it is dicey because the drought has become politicized. You have folks from the presidential level to all the way down to elected members of a CSD that are talking about the drought in ways that may or may not be factually accurate. And your point regarding fatigue, I get it. I mean, think about it. I turn on the water, it comes out. Right. You know, what drought?
Yes.
But it's so much more.
So we keep it in front of the community. We're constantly messaging to the community saying we really need to conserve. Our community did an outstanding job. We've reduced our consumption well over the 30%, and we've reduced our groundwater pumping already 47%.
But do you think that an area like Nipomo has done so well in large part because there are so many folks working in agriculture in the region? And so water, land, we're just more in touch with the land in San Luis Obispo County.
You know,
who knows?
Whatever the reason,
who cares
I subscribe.
Yeah.
I subscribe to it.
Okay, so at the same time, though, we were all very excited at the end of last year that we were going to see all this rain come.
Yes.
I mean, the El Nino was coming, an El Nino of Godzilla proportions.
Right.
An El Nino that sadly would not hit Northern California, would only hit Southern California, from
Yes.
San Luis Obispo down, all the way into Baja California, and boy, were we wrong.
Mother Nature pulled
Mother
one.
Nature pulled a fast one on
Yes,
us.
yes.
And so how has the lack of the El Nino in Central and Southern California impacted Nipomo and down to San Diego?
Well, there are two things going on here. There's the idea that we are definitely not getting the benefit of El Nino. But because of the messaging, many people thought, one would have thought they would slack off a little. So we've had to kind of redouble our efforts to make sure that people know that we're still in a drought.
But here's the problem. The slacking has occurred. You know,
Yes.
God bless Californians. We've done a lot. But if you look at the rate of conservation based upon the governor's
Right.
order of mandatory restrictions, I mean, each month the numbers have been going down a bit.
Yeah.
And I think overall the governor has been looking for a 25% reduction amongst non-ag users, and we were at 25% overall, and then we fell below that.
Right.
And we're not there anymore.
Well, and I would hold up our community. I mean, our community is not ag. I mean, the
Right.
portion that we're
Right.
managing.
Yes.
And they have exceeded our expectations as far as conservation. So again, it may be the quality of people that we're working with that are
Right.
taking it seriously, and it may be the fact that we didn't get that promised El Nino rain. I'm not sure what it was, but we are exceeding expectations. And I said, we are almost at 50% groundwater pumping reductions today.
So where do we go from here in terms of conservation? Is there much more that we can conserve, or are we at a point, sir, that we're doing well? If we keep at this level, we should be fine.
Well, of course, it's probably 60% of our consumption over the course of a year is outside irrigation.
Right.
And so that's where we get that conservation effort, that 30%, 35% reduction. So people are still using to keep valued landscaping alive.
Although it's become kind of cool to have a brown lawn. I mean, you know, brown is the new green.
Yeah.
And
So-
or is it?
Well, we still have room. We still have room. We don't want to. What will happen is if we do need to go to the next level,
Right.
the next step, and we have to ask for more, the only place really there is the outside irrigation we'd have to look at. And right now, the way it looks, even if we did have to move to the next stage down, I would say that because of the efforts that the community has made, because of the supplemental water pipeline bringing water from Santa Maria into Nipomo, we may not have to ask our community to take that next step.
And let's talk about the pipeline, because that was huge news.
Yes.
And it couldn't have come at a better time. It had been in the planning stages for quite some time.
Yes.
And yet I think it was in 2015 that the supplemental water from Santa Maria came into Nipomo.
Yes.
Boy, I mean, what did that do for you?
Oh, well, again, the shout out for
Right,
the
your
team.
predecessor.
Yeah, my
And your-
predecessor
right.
and the board and their determination and their foresight to see
Right.
what was necessary. You're right, it couldn't have come at a better time. And right now, at July 2nd, they opened that, turned on those pumps and brought in water.
Right.
We brought in almost 320 acre feet of water in the calendar year, and we've continued. We've got a commitment of bringing 650 for the fiscal year, July through June. We'll meet our target with a little bit more, and then starting July of this year,
Right.
we'll be bringing in 800 acre feet of water.
And so where do you go from here in terms of expanding your portfolio of water sources?
Well, good question again. Right, we are committed and have an obligation to pay or take up to 2,500 acre feet of water by the year 2026. So we have to invest another $8 million in infrastructure to actually develop the distribution system to bring that water in and onto the mesa. And once that's brought in, that will reduce our groundwater pumping significantly. Last year, the district alone, with this conservation measure, only consumed 1,800 acre feet. So if I were to have 2,500 acre, I would need 2,500. Now, granted, we do have provisions for our purveyor customers.
Right. Okay. Fascinating. His name is Mario Iglesias. He is the new general manager of the Nipomo Community Services District. I'm Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.